Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination, but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. The nights are long, the days are short, and the weather is chilly to downright cold, depending on where you are. It's a good time to slip into a Quince iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at only $50. You can treat yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price with Quince. If you really want to dive into luxury, you can check out their leather handbags, washable silk shirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for at Quince, all the prices are 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they do that by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the middleman. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. But you've already heard me rave about my Quince travel pants. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/traveler for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Got my bags packed, I'm on a roll. I'm heading out there and I'm ready to go. I'm looking real good in my passport photo. Oh, no.
Amateur Traveler, episode 653. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about beaches and mountain hikes and temples, cooking classes, an elephant preserve, and the pad thai mustache guy as we go to Thailand. Welcome to the Amateur Traveler. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Let's talk about Thailand. I'd like to welcome to the show Taiss and Rob from togethertowherever.com, who have come to talk to us about Thailand. Taiss and Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
And why are we talking about Thailand? Why should someone go to Thailand?
I have several reasons, actually. One of the main ones is it is very, very budget friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere in Southeast Asia really is, but I think Thailand is definitely worth every penny to get there. It's a little bit pricey to get there. It's a little bit time consuming on the flight to get there, but once you're there, it is extremely cheap. It is very friendly. I think it has that reputation. It's a land of smiles. Everybody smiles and you just feel relaxed when you're there, not to mention the whole massage culture.
That's my thing.
Rob loves that part. That's probably the number one reason he goes to Thailand.
More than one in a day if I can.
I am not so much into the massage, but you give me a mango smoothie and I'm with you. So
there you go. Another thing I wanted to say was it's very, very safe. Families will have a great time with small children. It's a safe place to go. Solo travelers. That's a huge point, I think.
Okay, excellent. And we've talked about Thailand before, but it has been a while since we've done on the show. So I've asked you guys to come up with a 1-week itinerary. What are you going to recommend for us?
I'll tell you what I won't recommend is I won't recommend Bangkok and I won't recommend Phuket. So spoiler alert if anybody is thinking about that.
Well, and you won't recommend it because it's not your top week or because you didn't like it?
In a week setting,
Okay.
It's going to get missed, in our opinion, with what else you can explore in Thailand. If you've got more than that, it's still for sure worth a visit.
Yeah, certainly Bangkok. I mean, you could spend an entire week just in Bangkok.
And that's just in the traffic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so where are we going?
Chiang Mai, that's our number one spot. And that's in the northern part of Thailand. And it's very beautiful, scenic as far as mountainous and lush greenery and whatnot. And once you're there, it's very easy to go to the little town of Pai, which is very relaxing, as well as Chiang Rai by the Lao border. There's a couple of really unique things to see up there. As far as down south, we would recommend the island of Koh Lanta, which is very peaceful, beautiful, and relaxing.
Excellent. Well, then we'll do that in a little more detail now. Now, you went to Chiang Mai, I assume, because you're a travel bloggers, and that's the law. Travel bloggers must go to Chiang Mai.
It's the capital.
Yes. Yeah. We lived there for a couple of years.
Again, you're travel bloggers, and that's the law. And I joke a little bit about that, but it is one of those places that has certainly been written about on thousands and thousands of travel blogs because it is a very popular travel blogger destination because it is affordable and nice. But what would you recommend we do in Chiang Mai?
I wanted to throw in a different way to do it. So typically, most people are going to kind of go to the old city.
Yes.
And it's worth seeing, but for a little bit of change of pace, I would recommend not staying in the old city and checking out a neighborhood called Niman.
Okay.
It's fastly growing. It's very modern. And around there, you're going to see lots of new cafes. The coffee scene in Chiang Mai is really underrated. Craft beer is starting to get popular. It's closer to Doi Suthep a little bit, which is a nice hike or temple up there that we recommend. So,
well, and tell me more about that. You're recommending that I hike there. So why am I going there and what's the hike like?
He's mentioning hikes on Doi Suthep. There's a lot of various hikes. One's called the Monk Trail, which is a popular one, but there are a couple of different waterfalls that are beautiful and have easy to harder hikes on Doi Suthep.
And when you say easier to harder, what is our definition of harder?
Longer and a little bit more strenuous.
Okay. I don't. It's not a technical climb, and I don't need to have summited Everest, but I need to be in decent shape.
Yes.
And I'm hiking in the jungle heat too.
Yes, and it's not as structured like hikes in the U.S. are.
Okay.
The path is a little more off the beaten path, so to speak.
Okay. Do I need to worry about getting lost and have a guide, or is it just something that I need to be in shape and take my time?
Be in shape and take your time. There are definitely maps at the beginning of all of them. I'd say just take a picture of it so you kind of have an idea.
Okay. And am I hiking to some place, to a view? It's a monk's trail, so am I hiking to a temple or?
There are temples along the way on that one. There's another one we recently went to where waterfalls are what you're getting to.
Ah, and what was the name of that one?
The name of the waterfall we just went recently on the hike to was Mon Ta Tan Waterfall and Nature Trail. I think it was about an hour, and there was really a couple of levels of different waterfalls. And of course, from up at the top of the waterfall, you have a very nice view of the city as well.
Okay, excellent. So I interrupted you. You were saying that we ought to stay in a particular neighborhood and not in the downtown because there was access to these hikes. Did you want to say more about that?
You have the access to the hikes, but also it's close to Doi Suthep. The Nimen neighborhood is close to Doi Suthep. So if you wanted to go up the mountain, you would actually probably want to take a red truck, which is the public transportation in Chiang Mai. It's very cheap and easy to hop on pretty much anywhere you can find. And they're literally red trucks that you hop on. And they give you a ride up the mountain. And there's a beautiful, very large temple up there that actually the locals will go up and do pilgrimage once a year too. So it's a very important temple. And of course, from up there is amazing views of the city as well.
Well, and we're in Thailand, so when we say temple, we mean Buddhist temple.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the other thing with the Naiman area, it is very modern. So the aspect of going to this foreign country on the other side of the world and you feel like, oh my God, am I going to miss all these amenities I'm used to? You won't miss a single thing. There's a huge mall, there's a movie theater. So you can still get that if you wanted to, your comforts from the Western world. So
and the restaurants over there are amazing.
Okay. And Thai food, obviously, other types of restaurants available as well?
Yeah, so there's a mix. So in Neiman, there's a few good Thai restaurants we recommend. You have to go to, it's called Khao Soi Neiman, and that's on Neiman Soi 7. And that's our favorite khao soi in all of Chiang Mai.
And khao soi is the northern Thai dish. It's an egg noodle Thai soup. You can have it with various types of meat, and it's very traditional to northern Thailand.
Okay. And then you had a second restaurant, Rob.
And then everything else in Neiman, there's just a lot of modern, so outside of Thai cuisine. So if you're not comfortable with the Thai food, you can get some awesome stuff just like you would in any big city.
Hamburgers. And there's also food trucks. The food truck scene in Chiang Mai is kind of interesting too. Some of the food trucks we've actually seen turn into restaurants in that area too over the time that we've been there.
That's it. Now, how new is the food truck scene? I don't remember hearing about that before.
Going back to I remember there being some 2014, 2015, yeah.
And that's on the main, so there's one big road called Neiman Road, and we were just there in October 2018, and there had to be 3 or 4 out on most of the nights, especially on Fridays and Saturdays. It seems to be busier. And
is there a particular good street food or food truck that you would recommend while we're in Chiang Mai?
The Pad Thai mustache guy.
He's pretty popular, yeah. Pad Thai, I think a lot of people know.
As a dish, yeah.
As a dish, yeah, and it's delicious. And you have the mustache guy right on Neiman, and he's super popular, and he'll just make it right on the street for you. It's delicious.
So this isn't like there's a big sign that says Pad Thai mustache guy. It's just there's a guy with a notable mustache who makes Pad Thai.
I can't remember the exact name, but it has mustache in it, and there's some logo and branding going on, that's kind of typical of the Neiman area. So in the old city, you're going to get more of that old school, very old looking street food feel. And Neiman, you're going to get more of that modern look, and they actually do some branding and fun stuff like that.
Okay, interesting. Well, and a lot of expats in the city, so that's probably one of the reasons they're taking a little bit of different approach.
Very true.
Cool. Anything else we want to do or see in Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai, you definitely should do a cooking class. We've done several of them, and one of our favorite ones is Thai Scenic Cooking School. We had a lot of fun with those guys. It's really fun because they take you to the market, and there's plenty of markets all around. So they take you to one, they explain all the different ingredients that go into Thai food, which is good to know because then you know what you're eating on the streets as well. Then they'll take you to the kitchen, show you how to make soups, main dishes, and desserts, and then you get to eat it all too. So it's really great fun.
Excellent. Sounds like fun.
Another thing in Chiang Mai would be going to the elephant sanctuary. This is definitely not at all anything like riding elephants or anything like that. You can even volunteer to go help them. They rescue elephants. And you see elephants in their natural habitat. So we don't want to recommend doing anything as far as where you're taking selfies with tigers and things like that. And we don't think that's ethical, but I think elephant sanctuary is one of the top ones there.
I have seen the elephant sanctuary. I have driven past. I was on a fam trip with the Thailand Tourism Board, and because that it's been covered so much, they didn't really need one more story about the elephant sanctuary. But of course, I've never been there, so we just drove past. It's like, well, okay. But yeah, it looks like quite an interesting experience. And I would think it would be an interesting experience with kids as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen families there, and the kids just love it.
Yeah, I would think so. Excellent. Yeah. Anything else in Chiang Mai?
Chiang Mai, another popular thing to do is the Sunday night market. If you happen to be there on a Sunday night, it is extremely huge. I think someone going from the U.S., that is something unique that will blow them away, to just row after row, like many, many streets. But there's one main street and then several branches of that.
All these little souvenirs and stuff like that. It's quite wild to see for your first time.
We go there for the food.
Are there particular souvenirs that you would recommend from the Chiang Mai area?
You like those elephant pants.
Yes, elephant pants. Extremely comfortable pajamas. I wouldn't say wear them around the city because then you look like a tourist and they're pajamas.
Okay.
But as far as other gifts, there's really cool handmade stuff.
Handmade soaps?
Yeah, handmade soaps, handmade umbrellas that are painted as well. Wooden things like that, like little carved wooden elephants. They're nice to get. Coconut oil. I always get some coconut oil in those markets too.
Excellent. Do we want to do anything more in Chiang Mai before we head out?
Well, considering we lived there for a bit, we could keep going. So
no, I think those would cover probably the 3 days we would recommend setting aside for Chiang Mai.
Okay.
Then from Chiang Mai, it's very easy to go to a town called Pai. You would just go to the bus station, and there's a little shuttle station right across the street. You can even purchase tickets online nowadays. And you get on the shuttle. It's a 3-hour ride. It's a very windy, twisty, I think they say 700 turns.
I think it's 762 turns. And
yeah.
if your stomach's a little weak, it's going to be a tough trip for you.
But it's very scenic, and it's very beautiful to watch if you can. Once you get to Pai, you can get into relaxation mode, really. You're in nature, but there are some really great resorts there as well. Reverie Siam is one we always go to. We love it. They have great food there. You can see the mountains all around. But if you're on a lower budget, there are various options. I mean, you can get little guest houses there too that are going to still be great. Things to do there. There's definitely, what is it called? The Pai Canyon. Pai Canyon is amazing. It's not like the Grand Canyon, but it's a canyon. It's a smaller version, and it's lush with trees, so it's hard to see the depths of it, but it does get very deep in some areas. But it's just, you can just go out there and just stare at it for hours, and it's amazing.
It's pretty scary, though. Definitely be careful. I almost fell off. Be careful. There's also the land split.
Yes, there's a farmer whose land split.
Pretty close, I think.
Yeah, it's very close.
The land split. I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I was going to say, to get around, the best way is to rent a scooter, and you can get to all these things. But the land split is actually this guy's farm. When an earthquake happened, his land literally split. And it's interesting to go see, but the main thing I think for us, why we love to go back to it every time, is how friendly the farmer is that takes care of that area. There's no admission or anything like that. And he offers all these little snacks for you, like dried bananas, tamarind, like wine, and really nice little snacks when you come in. And he's very hospitable. And you don't have to pay for anything. You just leave a nice little donation for them allowing you to be there. And there's hammocks you can relax in. Definitely
something worth recommending that's not probably a very common thing you would see.
Well, and we should say, I don't know if you mentioned it and I just missed it, but when we headed up here, you went northwest from Chiang Mai, 2/3 of the way up to the Chinese border.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a waterfall there.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Buddha on the mountain as well is great to go up for sunsets. Yeah, definitely go up there to watch the sunset over the mountains. It's beautiful.
And more massages like all of Thailand.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of time in Pai, but I think the nature is worth seeing for sure, and the relaxing feeling that you get being up there.
Okay. Excellent. And then you took us further east, I think.
Now you're going east to Chiang Rai by the border of Laos in Thailand. Up there, again, not a ton to do, but a couple of key places we'd recommend to see is the White Temple, Wat Arung. And I know you're thinking, okay, amazing. We're templed out. We've seen some temples probably in Chiang Mai. Why are we seeing this? But this temple is very unique. The architect is very unique, and learning about his story and walking around this temple and seeing the oddness of it in some ways and the beauty in that oddness is great to see. The opposite of that is I guess it's not really a temple, but it's called the Black House. And that's a museum. And there's some very interesting pieces in that museum I think are just fascinating to see. And it's not something you would see, I don't think, in Western museums like the same way.
An art museum? I'm not quite getting a clear picture.
It's like the Museum of Death, basically, in some ways.
Well, I was not going there. All right.
That's not the official name. That's just my way of explaining it.
A collection of wood buildings featuring works by Taiwan Dachini and other contemporary Thai artists. But then it gets really weird really quick, like Taiss was saying.
Yeah, you go inside. The architecture and the buildings are interesting, but inside is creepy, but interesting.
You kind of have to go, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Konnichiwa, I'm Yuki, a tour leader with Explore. Who knew that hidden among Tokyo's towering skyscrapers was a peaceful tea house surrounded by ancient trees and serene ponds? Actually, I knew. It was my mother's secret sanctuary. Not everyone knows about Tokyo's Hamarikyu Gardens. Arigatou gozaimasu. But you will if you explore. Search exploreworldwide.com and don't just travel, explore.
And while you're in Chiang Rai, I think going to a mountain called Puchi Pha, and you could do this by getting a tour from your guest house or hotel, wherever you're staying. It's easy enough for them to book you right when you get there. They pick you up at like 3 a.m. and they drive
2 hours.
2 hours out towards the border. And then you do a little bit of half an hour hike. It's still kind of dark. And once you're up there, you just go for the sunrise.
And it's supposed to be amazing based on the pictures, but we had a really foggy day. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, that was an epic fail for us. I think, what time of year do you remember it was that we went?
November.
November, yeah. It's probably not the best time to go, but I think we had friends go in April, and they said it was just the most incredible sunrise. Just, it's so high up, and you can see Laos on the other end.
Okay, I was wondering which border you were driving towards. So you drove towards the Mekong River.
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's called Puchi Pha.
Puchi Pha Mountain.
Okay.
Oh, there's a clock tower downtown that you can walk to. Just people kind of hang out. And then there's also a cat cafe that if you're looking to do something a little different, you can go check out. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and they also have a night market too, which as far as food goes, I think that's the place to get some good food. They have this soup that is served in a clay pot that sits over a little bit of a coal, like fire, that keeps it warm. And they give you all the different ingredients that you can throw in there, kind of like hot pot style, but it's in a clay pot. It's really cute. And
for reference, everything, Chiang Rai is a very, very small town. So wherever your hotel or guest house is, most of this stuff is walkable, except the White Temple and the Black Temple. We recommend a tuk-tuk ride.
Okay.
But the market, that clock in the downtown, cat cafe, and that's all within like 5 minutes each direction.
Got it. Excellent. Anything else we want to do there? Or are we ready to move on?
Let's go to down south. Down south, we love the island of Koh Lanta.
Actually, before you down south, I want to add in a couple other things because, as I mentioned, I did the trip up there with the foreign ministry, and we did the provinces just south of where you were, both Phrae and Nan. A number of interesting temples there as well, as you would expect, this being Thailand. But a couple things that we did that I think people might be interested in that were a little different. In the province of Phrae, we went to a tie-dye, and that sounds strange when you say it in Thailand, but basically a place where they were doing the dyeing of the fabrics with the indigo, the natural indigo dyes, and did some of our own dyeing, and they showed us the mechanisms for that, and you could also buy things there. But it was just kind of interesting to see how that works and see how the natural indigo dye is actually green when you're looking at a boiling pot of dye, and then you put in your fabric and it comes out and turns that blue indigo color that we're used to seeing. So that was interesting. And then also in the city of Nan, we did something that I suspect you can do elsewhere, but this is the only place that I have done it, which is the Buddhist monks in the morning go out and do basically their morning begging because they're being supported by the community. And so we got up at dawn and went out as the monks were going out with their begging bowls, basically, and people would buy at the morning market some rice and some, not meat, obviously, but something that they could eat and give it to them. And then they would kneel down and get a blessing from the monks, which is a different experience. Certainly some of the people really enjoyed that in that particular experience. So I did want to bring up those two things, which are in places that I don't think as many people get to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you mention actually with the monks and that whole experience, it reminded us of the meditation retreat that we did in Chiang Mai. And if you have a little bit of extra time, we certainly recommend it. You don't have to do like a whole 10-day meditation, especially if you've never done it before. You can do a one-day meditation
one overnight. So you go in an afternoon, I think around maybe 3 p.m., 4 p.m. They take you out, and then you get back the next day around just after lunch, so 1 or 2 p.m. So about 24 hours in total.
Excellent.
You get to experience that in the morning. You go out with the monks and they collect their day's collection.
And you don't, and you can't talk for 24 hours. So
silent meditation.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Excellent. Where to next?
All right. So we were going to go down south to Koh Lanta. And when my father came to visit, he was just blown away. And he's still to this day talking about it. And it's been 2 years. And the reason we loved it so much is like just Koh Lanta. And I think the best time to go, although this might sound weird, is the rainy season, the beginning of the rainy season. There's hardly anybody there. So if you're staying at a resort, first of all, you're getting a really good rate.
Sure.
And you pretty much feel like you have the whole entire resort to yourself. That's how we felt. And though they call it the rainy season, it's a little bit of pour down for like 20 minutes and then it stops. And you have a lot of breaks basically. So it's not like an entire 3 months of rain just pouring down and you can't do anything. You can always adjust, and it's warm, so it's not really.
And you don't have to go over a traditional ferry to get this. There is a bridge. I don't know how to describe it. It moves over and then grabs your car and then takes you to the other side. The worry in the rainy season is that sometimes it's dangerous to go from the different islands. So
that's a good point. So okay. I forgot to mention also, so you're flying down to Krabi from Chiang Mai, and then from Krabi, you're taking a shuttle that gets ferried over to Koh Lanta.
Okay.
Yeah, once you're in Koh Lanta, if you're staying at a resort, basically they'll come and pick you up from the quote-unquote ferry station and take you there. And once you're there, it's just the island life. You've got beautiful beaches and just relaxation. But if you are just bored and you're looking for some activity, I think a little side trip from Koh Lanta is getting a tour and going to the island of Koh Rock. And it's an uninhabited island, so there's no resorts and things like that. There's some camping available, but you can just be taken on the tour for the day. Usually they include lunch with it, so you'll get there, have a great lunch right on the beach, and go snorkeling. And it was one of the best snorkeling experiences we've ever done there.
Now, I'm curious how you chose Koh Lanta with all of the different communities in the south, all the different islands, Phuket obviously being the best known of those, how you heard about and why you chose this one.
Koh Lanta we heard through friends, talking to them when we were first deciding which ones to go to. We had been to Koh Phi Phi, and Koh Phi Phi is pretty popular, especially with the young crowds. And we took my younger brother, and even he was kind of like, no, this is not my scene. So it depends on what your scene really is, but it's definitely not.
Because it was more of a party scene, or
yes,
what? Okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's similar to with Phuket too. So
yeah,
if that's what you're looking for, that's fine. And I guess that also plays into the reason why Bangkok wouldn't be on our top spot. So Koh Lanta, just out of the islands we've been to, it felt the most relaxing.
Okay,
and just to really get that Thai relaxing vibe that you get from the resorts and stuff like that, just to fully experience it, because up north you're doing not your typical things.
Yeah, and I think Koh Lanta as well, it's a big island, so there's amenities there. So you have that. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are some very beautiful islands that are in Thailand that a lot of people love going to, especially scuba diving and whatnot. But
sure.
I think some of them don't have a lot of amenities. And that's kind of how we chose. We wanted to have a nice place to stay and have those amenities and relax.
Well, and when you say amenities, you started off the episode by saying budget-friendly destinations. So I'm assuming you're not staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and we're not talking about that level of amenities. You're talking about something that's still in a budget travel range?
Yeah, the place that we stayed at was Crown Lanta Resort.
Okay.
For what you get is still not at all you would imagine in the price you would pay in the U.S. for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's around
$100 per night. And I feel like in the equivalent of the U.S., you're probably getting something for, maybe $400, $500 a night. So it's awesome to have that experience.
Got it.
For the budget price. I think that's the big draw right there.
Okay, so you weren't at a hostel price. You went upscale, but upscale for budget travelers. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But
That
you
helped.
do, like I said, like Koh Lanta is big enough where you can go very, very
Yep.
upscale, or you can go to hostel. You have a plethora of choices on that island.
Okay. Good to know. And then when you talk about amenities or activities, you mentioned scuba. What did you do while you were there besides the beach and obviously the massages?
We did that Koh Rock tour that took us out. There's also a little quote unquote downtown, I guess you could say, of Koh Lanta if you want to do some shopping and restaurants there. We haven't been to, but there are other nature things you can do. There's the Blue Hole there. You can go if you want to go on an excursion and rent a motorbike and go around the island as well.
Okay. Excellent. I think that kind of wrapped up the itinerary that you suggested. Is there more that we want to do the itinerary before we get to some of our wrap-up questions?
Yeah, I think that was the 1 week, that we put together.
That's
Excellent.
it.
So we've got a little beach time. We've got some exploring in the hinterlands, obviously a temple and a massage or two as well. You're standing in the prettiest spot in that whole week. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
I'm standing at the edge of Koh Lanta. There's a national park at the end of it.
Okay.
And a beach, and it's sunset. It's absolutely just the sky is on fire. It's beautiful.
Excellent. Rob, do you have a different answer?
I'm standing on the top of Doi Suthep, which overlooks Chiang Mai. I just think it's a beautiful view. You're on top of a mountain. You're overlooking the entire city. And it's just very relaxing and something you can do. It's not a sunset or a sunrise dependent activity, so you can do it all day long.
When you guys talked about Chiang Mai, you talked about being very comfortable, very Western. The least familiar part of your trip. When am I gonna feel like I'm the most in Thailand?
The more local you go with where you eat, you might be a little bit out of your comfort zone. So you're going to find yourself maybe struggling with the menu and the language and how much to pay and the change and stuff like that. There might be a little bit a language barrier with the more authentic food places that you go.
Okay. Is there one that's worth it though?
I think the neighborhood of Santitam, which is very close to the Neiman neighborhood, that's going to be a lot more Thai. And if you want to push your boundaries just a little bit, just a little outside of the comfort zone, I would go to that area.
Yep, I agree.
Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Thailand.
Okay. What would you say?
Oh, man. The signs and the menus and the misspellings of English. It's just some of the things that they mess up are worth taking a picture and laughing at down the road, although I deleted all mine, I think.
For me, it would be eating at food stalls on the street, but actual little cafes and restaurants, and food taking a really long time to come out, or one dish comes out and the other one is still waiting for the other one. Whereas in Western countries, we're used to everything coming out at the same time and the service being like, oh, do you need anything else? It's like kind of a little bit different. You have to get used to it. One dish might come out earlier than the other, and the person might not come to your table again. You'll have to call them if you need anything additional.
That sounds vaguely familiar from the amateur traveler trip we did from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. And I do remember getting used to people eating one at a time.
Yeah.
One cook in the kitchen quite often at some of these little places you go to, and they don't time the dishes necessarily. And you may be done before somebody else gets their food.
Exactly.
So, yeah, okay. I'd forgotten all about that until you said that. Excellent. And if we had to summarize Thailand in just 3 words, what 3 words are you going to use?
I'm going to say smiles.
Okay.
Relaxation.
Okay.
Budget friendly. That's 2 words.
I'll give you the hyphen. I'll give you the hyphen there. Excellent. And if we were going to send people to your best post on together2wherever.com about Thailand, where are we going to send?
So I have a post about a 2-week Thailand itinerary, I think, because honestly, we would recommend 2 weeks, 10 days over a week. So I have together2wherever.com 2-week Thailand itinerary available.
Then you have the options, and if you have less time, you take what we recommended possibly today and mix and match with what you see on that post to find the ideal one for you.
Well, and for 2 weeks, what do you add in? What do you suggest for that extra time?
Well, I think we just added a couple of more days in Chiang Rai and in
Okay.
Chiang Mai. I did have Koh Phi Phi on there
Got it.
just as
Okay.
an option. Yeah.
And again, more of a party spot if that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Taiss and Rob, thanks so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your love for Thailand.
Thank you for having us. It was fun. I hope that your viewers enjoy the itinerary to an extent where they would want to book their flight right away.
I got a letter recently from Al, and Al said, I listen to a number of podcasts. The more I listen, however, I noticed areas that can be improved. Comments on the host. He constantly uses the same words. Example, excellent, interesting, etc., becomes very monotonous. He has a tendency to disrupt the show by talking about his experiences at some other locations which are not relevant to the show. The constant Google fact-checking is not appreciated. If the interviewee doesn't know, add in notes later or tell listeners to check it out if it's critical. Let the interviewee talk. Don't keep interrupting them with small talk. These are suggestions to help the show be more enjoyable for all. Al. And I wrote to Al and I said, I thanked him for his feedback. I probably won't be doing any of these. And it's for various reasons. And I thought it would be worth talking about on this show. So in terms of the host, which would be me, in terms of repeating things like interesting, you're right. And I hear myself doing it. It's a habit, and I do it in real life too, and it's just not something I'm likely to change. I don't know what I would change it to. In terms of interrupting, it's interesting because I get a variety of feedback all across the scale. For instance, I talked to someone who is an expert in coaching people to be on the radio, and their feedback was, you need to interrupt more often. You need to be the voice that people hear. You shouldn't let your guests talk so much. The show needs to be much more about you. And obviously I rejected that, but I do interrupt. And one of the reasons I do interrupt in terms of fact checking and not just putting things in the show notes, you guys don't read the show notes. I just had to explain to somebody today that every episode comes with the things that we talked about it in the lyrics of the episode. And when we get things wrong, that's when I get the letters that say, I can't trust you at all anymore. I'm stopping listening to your show because you got a fact wrong. And so it is definitely something where I'm more sensitive to that, and I don't want to put out something that will be sitting there for years with information that is incorrect. So I will still be doing fact checking, and I understand that that may discourage some of you from listening, but it is where I've come down in that spectrum of how much should I talk. And I tell stories, and that is something that I completely understand. All of Al's feedback is very valid. Some people may not like that. I'm probably not going to change it though. So I just wanted to at least talk about why some of these things happen. Some of them are just the personality of the host, i.e. me. With that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.